So, real quick, we're going to discuss the topic of the word friendly. I don't like friendly people. I like nice people. I'm a nice person, but we're not friendly in our family, and there is a very legitimate reason for that. I'm nice, I'm not friendly. So, when you talk about someone who is flirting, is that being friendly or is that being lustful? Because typically flirting leads to other things. That is the intention of flirting, is it not? To attract someone, whether you genuinely like them or not. I personally just feel that certain conversations between people can resolve all of the flirting and the lust in the world. That can be regulated very easily just through general conversation with people. So there really is no excuse for the disrespect that comes with flirting because both parties, both sexes are being disrespected in the event of flirting. If you have no further intentions with that individual other than something lustful, and then that lustful event may even play itself out. How do you think Samson had his locks removed? Do you not think that that all began with flirting, enticement of a woman who wanted to take advantage of a man's strength and the ability to do that, laying a man down in the bed and giving him something to drink and to relax him, and then sexually drain him and placing him in a unstable situation, placing him in the greatest of vulnerabilities that would be a man's worst nightmare. Who do you trust that you are doing any of those things with? That it is so important that you would actually subject yourself to what Samson subjected himself to. And King David was murdering, placing the man whose wife that he had murdered, the most important man on the front line to be killed in a war. There were repercussions for that behavior from Jehovah to David. And King David, he loved Jehovah, but he was always messing up with women. There was no excuse for it. So don't make any excuses for yourselves when there is biblical evidence that Jehovah was not pleased with this behavior. But King Solomon was King David's son. So King David, he knew better every time he did something wrong. If the other ones, like Joseph, fled Potiphar's wife when she tried to pull him down by his garment, he left his garment behind and fled. He was the right hand man to King Potiphar. And his wife, because David was good looking and he was talented, he was a musician, he was a poet, he was everything, he was one of the best warriors in history. She wanted to lay down with him. Of course she did. There's no man like him. Jehovah's men are very rare, as are his women are very rare in the world, and we are the high priced ones. There's a price on our heads. And if we don't subject ourselves to that price of our so called worth, then generally we are executed, which plays into the genocide that hasn't ended. So it's not that I'm getting my story mixed up or my numbers mixed up. I'm just giving everyone so much information that they would be able to utilize that for themselves. to get down to the bottom of the truth, because everyone who isn't involved is involved, and there is no reason for them to be involved in people's families to the degree that they're involved in people's families. And doxing people's phone is a part of that. The dangers that you place people in by doing those types of things, you never take those things into consideration clearly, otherwise you wouldn't be so out of place doing it. Not just to other people, but to myself as well. So I know just where you get off at. So there are no secrets with you, is there? But it's my fault because you're making these choices for yourself. And I didn't have to do any of the above to know that you're doing this. Other than just some really good prayerful times and some conversations with Jehovah and letting him know that I'm working for this. Can I please see some evidence that you are here answering my prayers? And he hasn't stopped answering me from the beginning of my life. He has not stopped answering me. So if you can tell me anything better than the truth, knock yourselves out. If you can give me anything better than what Jehovah has to offer me, knock yourselves out trying. Because from the looks of things, you have nothing to offer yourselves more than you don't have something to offer someone else, because you could be making other choices for yourselves, but you're very willfully choosing not to do that. It's the reverse of that. And that is no one's fault but your own. And if I was going along with you, I would be just as guilty as you. So I choose not to be guilty and to speak against Jehovah and his people and his will for this world and his creation. You're bigger and badder than him, then what are you over here arguing with me and doxing people and doing all this stuff for? Why don't you take your problems up with Jehovah and see if he can straighten them out for you? Why are you over here fighting with flesh and blood? Especially if you are a so-called Christian, you should know that all of your battles are spiritual. We wrestle against flesh and blood. It's just a wrestling. But when it comes to death, that becomes spiritual, because that's an inner thought that somebody is plotting to do something that horrific to another human being. It takes some time and some planning and some plotting and some thought process to be able to succumb to that act. How do I know this? Because that is how Cain killed Abel. Do you know how long Jehovah was talking to Cain before he committed that crime of killing his brother? Over jealousy, because Jehovah chose Cain's heartfelt gift in comparison to Abel's heartfelt gift in comparison to Cain's. Cain's heart wasn't right, and Jehovah knew that right before they even took their sacrifices to him. He already knew that. He'd already been talking to Cain. And he told him, if you keep pressing on these thoughts, these ideas, something bad is going to happen. And that's what happened. That was the first murder committed in the history of mankind. And it's documented. But then people will say, excuse me, that's a whole lie. That doesn't apply. Well, how could it not apply, but then you still see it happening? So it's applicable, whether you believe in it or not, right? Same as the law. Whether you believe the laws of the land or not, or you abide by the laws of the land or not, they still exist, right? So there's even further evidence that the laws of the lands were given. And the reason that people are against law is because of the red tape laws that are intertwined with the true law to get people off of taking responsibility for their blood guilt and their thought processes in order to genocide mankind that they don't like. So see, it's about who you do like and it's about who you don't like. What will you do for who you like, and what won't you do for who you like? So if those rules apply to you, they also apply to me. So I will do as I like for those who I like, and for those who I don't like, you can do what you like, because I'm already covered. And so is anybody else that's with me. So I'm waiting on you to catch up on the memo that apparently you had some serious oversight on, because I'm not playing, but I'm in the game.